Is it too hot to garden, or are you away from your garden during the summer? Take the summer off and plant a cover crop instead. If you live in a hot summer climate, planting a cover crop after your spring crops finish is an excellent way to improve your soil while you're waiting for the temperatures to come down and fall planting to begin. In today's video, I'll show you which cover crops grow best in hot climates, how to plant them, and then what to do at the end of the season. I'm Angela from Growing in the Garden. My garden is in Mesa, Arizona. I want to help you succeed even if you're gardening in tough conditions. After spring crops finish up and temperatures climb, it might be tempting to leave that garden soil bare. Don't do it. Bare soil will heat up, dry out, and become compacted. All of those good things in the soil will die. Fungi and bacteria feed on the nutrients in the soil emitted by the plant's roots. If nothing is growing, the soil food web is missing a key part. If you don't want to plant anything, at a minimum, cover the soil with a thick layer of mulch and water enough to keep the soil from drying out over the summer. But if you want to improve the soil, not just keep it alive, plant a cover crop. There are so many benefits. That cover crop is going to shade the soil and keep the soil temperature cooler. There's also less water loss with evaporation when there's something growing in the soil. Cover crops also add organic matter to the soil. Cover crops improve soil fertility, the structure, and the moisture holding capacity of the soil. Those summer rains will be absorbed into the soil rather than running off or eroding the soil. And finally, a cover crop will suppress any weeds that would grow during the summer. So when is the best time to plant a cover crop? You can start planting anytime those spring crops finish up, all the way through early July. After planting, keep an eye on those cover crops that you plant from seed to make sure that they germinate. Once they germinate, the moisture needs are going to be a lot lower, and you can back off on the watering, keeping them just alive but not watering too much. These crops are drought tolerant, so there's no need to overwater. So which cover crops can you plant in hot summer areas? Luckily, there are several really good options. One of the easiest is cowpeas, tepary beans, or really any heat-loving member of the bean family. They grow easily from seed and don't mind the heat. Space seeds 4 to 6 inches apart and plant them about an inch deep, and then just let them grow. They will quickly cover the soil and their roots grow nice and deep. Buckwheat is a fast grower that will go from seed to bloom in about 30 days. This is a good choice if you don't have a lot of time but want to get a quick crop in. Buckwheat is also a good choice if there's a lot of weeds you'd like to smother. But be aware that after planting buckwheat, it's best to come in afterwards with transplants because it has slight allelopathic effects, which means that some seeds may not germinate. Planting buckwheat is simple. Scatter the seeds and then cover with about ½ inch of soil. Sweet potatoes, with a long growing season, sprawling vines, and deep roots, they are an excellent option for cover crops. Best part, they produce edible leaves and tubers if you leave them in the ground long enough. Plant from slips spaced 12 to 18 inches apart. Don't want to wait to produce the slips? Stick the potatoes right in the soil. They'll grow lots of slips that will cover the soil, but you may not harvest any sweet potatoes from them. Tithonia, or Mexican sunflower, is a large plant that produces a lot of plant matter. This is an excellent chop and drop mulch that decomposes quickly. Tithonia can be tricky to start from seeds outside because they need light to germinate, and that soil is going to dry out so quickly. You might want to start the seeds indoors and then plant outside about 1 foot or 2 apart. The blooms are beautiful and will attract butterflies, but keep them dead-headed and don't let them produce seeds until you're ready to cut that plant back. Be aware that Tithonia can be allelopathic. It's best to come in afterwards with transplants. Now let's talk about what to do at the end of the season. Count back 3 weeks from when you want to begin planting outside. That's when you're going to cut your crops back. You want to cut crops back before they flower so that they don't produce seeds that will be popping up in your beds next season. If they've already flowered and maybe produced seeds, no worries, just cut those parts of the plant off. When it's time to cut them back, cut off at the base and leave the roots in the soil, unless they're sweet potatoes. Pull those out of the soil so you don't have sweet potatoes growing forever. The roots that you leave in the ground will add organic matter to the soil and break down over time. After you cut them back, leave the plant matter on the surface as mulch. If you already have a thick layer of mulch in place, pull that back and then put the plants on top of the soil. You can chop everything up, but I found that it breaks down so quickly, that's an easy step to skip. Leave it on the top and allow it to break down, or cover with compost and it will break down even more quickly. Generally, wait at least 2 weeks before planting your next crop. You will be amazed when you come in how quickly things start to break down. To plant, move the living mulch aside and plant your seeds or seedlings, and then put it back to act as mulch. This is an easy but important step that will give you a jump on the next planting season. Instead of coming back to dry, dead soil, it will be full of life and ready to feed your plants.